And hello, my followers, fellow YouTubers, and all that jazz. And nice cold morning here in Florida, and over here in Tarpon Springs. Figured I'd just do an update. It's been a minute, and as you can see, we have moved the car. And as you can guess, that is indeed, my bad, that is indeed because we have started driving it. We had gotten the brakes done. Fuel issue has been semi-resolved. Got some paint on there, got all the tires on there. This brake actually hasn't been done because I shredded the bleeder cap, or the bleeder screw. So I got to figure out a way to get that off and blade it. But the car stops, goes down the road. It does have an issue with overheating right now. I do believe that's because I have debris or sediment or something within the coolant lines, maybe even blocking the thermostat, because it is something I had noticed when I redid the coupler on my water suction hose. As well as this thing basically won't go over 20 miles right now, 20 miles an hour. It will go like all the way through first and then like halfway through second. And then it just cuts off. And then like, doesn't matter if you stomp on the gas or anything, it's not getting power. I don't know if that's because the fuel issue that I had, again, was because the wire that I had used for my secondary relay for the fuel pump had stopped working. And so now I put it into a different wire. And the only thing I can think of is that the wire is dropping voltage at that point, or it's a vacuum leak, something with my transmission. At which point I'll have to be doing some testing. But we're able to get it down the road, just not well at all. You know, like fucking, I mean, it's like as soon as you get around the corner, it starts cutting off. So it's definitely an issue, something we need to address. But it's drivable, barely, but I mean, it moves. My gauges, they're still not working. The only ones I got here that work, thankfully, thermostat, oil pressure. So, I mean, at least I have those two. Don't know how much gas I have in it, so I just go back there and I kind of open up the fuel sender and I shake it around and try to hear for what I got. No tach, no speedometer. My odometer works. I just noticed I've driven it 3 miles. Look at that. So that means this is accurate, which is a huge thing, honestly, for a 32-year-old car to have this many miles. On average, you drive about, what is that? I think it's 12,000 miles a year. And so, I think that's like 10 years. 10 years of driving or something. So, this thing's in, since that is accurate, this engine is actually probably going to be pretty easy to take care of. Which, at that point, would lead me to believe that it could be just some vacuum lines that don't want to cooperate right now. So, I'll have to go in there and check. Thankfully, since it is pre-96, it does not use OBD2, which means that, like on some cars, you know, there will be like a flicker, the warning lights, and you'll have to decode that and whatnot, which is, you know, it can be fun. It's like a little game, you know. But with mine, my ECU is there behind that kick panel. And so you take that kick panel off, take out the ECU, and there's actually a place where you put a screwdriver and you turn it, and you can turn it onto diagnostic modes, and then you count the blips, green and red blips. And I think the red blips are the first digit, green blips are the second digit. And then you look them up in the factory service manual, and it tells you, you know, what's going on. And it never tells you what's wrong. It's just more of a general direction to head. Which I do remember previously, the only codes I had gotten were my fuel pump, like malfunctioning, which was accurate because, I mean, I got it fucking rewired and shit. But the other one was something in my ignition system. So, but that was intermittent. So, I mean, I've read reports of like an ignition module being able to create wonky things. Could be an issue, albeit I'm not leaning towards it. I am honestly leaning towards that wire that I had retapped my fuel relay into. So I'm probably just going to wire it into the stock relay signal wire, which is malfunctioning. It's always on. And so, because I had my cousin ride in with me, and he said that the relay sounded like it was clicking off, and it did act like it would just stop getting fuel. Because none of the, like, it wouldn't stall unless it was like that for a while. But it would just, there's no response from the throttle. And so I'm just going to hardwire that into the positive for the fuel pump. So it's going to constantly be running, which is, of course, not ideal, but it is just a test. Get it around the corner, see if that solves it cutting out, and if it does, then I'm just going to find a different wire to tap into. Probably just splice and whatchamajigger cap off the original signal wire from the fuel pump relay, because the wire that grounds it to turn on the fuel pump is the ECU ground. So I'll have that one tied in, and I will have the wire that I'm using currently to power the switch side of the circuit, and I'll find another wire to power the relay. But this is as far as really I've gotten right now. My blinkers work, albeit, well, I mean, the car's not on, so you won't see them, but they do work. You don't hear them clicking. There's no indicators on the dash, which is the same with the hazards. No indicators on the dash. But, this dash is basically ruined. Along with all these clusters, all this has to come off. Like, all this top panel. All this needs to come off just to get access to this, and these, and this, and this. The steering wheel has to come off. All this bottom stuff's got to come off. All this trim has got to come off in order just to get access to this dash and whatnot. Just to see if something's disconnected, or, I'm not at a loss, but I'm just there's so many different paths that it's hard to choose which one to go down currently. And like, even with the fog lights, pretty much, there's filament contacts, those little flimsy little copper tabs, I guess, and those are either like dirty or not touching or making contact. So I don't even know if my light bulbs work in the fog lights, because I won't get any power to it. Same thing with over here. They come on, but it's honestly only the passenger side that moves. And it sounds like it's moving a decent bit. Yeah, it comes out about halfway, but the other one will not move. Which previously I used to be able to get them both to move a little bit. But now it's just the one. So, I mean, one thing at a time though. Personally, I can live without this. I don't need it right now until I get this thing driving right, and then I'll worry about this. So as long as I can tell that it's overheating, and as long as I can tell my oil pressure, because if that drops or goes over, that could be a whole different bag of worms that I don't know about personally. But I don't know. I know that I'm definitely gonna be flushing out my entire coolant system, as well as replacing my thermostat, because I mean, you should always replace your thermostat like every few years. That, and check out a new radiator cap. And then there is a part that connects from the filler neck through the frame and then back into the top of the radiator, and that little metal coupler piece is like broken, and so instead of venting through the radiator cap, it vents out there because the collar doesn't have a really good grip, and so there's places where air can leak out, and so it was slipping out of there instead of out of the radiator cap. So I don't even know if the radiator cap is able to relieve pressure, which I had an issue in my Subaru wagon to where the radiator cap had helped with most of the overheating issues, except for I still didn't have a radiator fan, so I mean, you know, stop and go traffic would ruin me, but the radiator cap honestly solved most of it. So, I mean, that's pretty much where we are right now. As far as the interior goes, I ain't gonna worry about that. I took out that carpet because fuck that carpet. All these leaves and shit are from when I was cleaning my hatch, and then I just haven't vacuumed it up because I've been trying to get this thing to run right. The windows work, albeit like I can't use them because I don't have the master switch, but I powered it up with a drill battery and they both go up and down, so there's that. I got this up there, which I actually really needed. But anyway, so that is where we are at. I got to cap off cruise control vacuum line as well, just in case. I'm gonna re-putty up my the EGR pipe that I had ripped off previously, because I just don't trust the job that I had done on it. So I'm gonna redo it, thicken it up, see if that helps it at all. I'm also gonna run some tests on my throttle position sensor, albeit I don't think that's an issue. I know it's quite corroded, so it could definitely be attributing to something. But that's where we are now. Again, sorry for the updates, the content and whatnot. I gotta get a GoPro or something, so it's not just me doing this. But that's the update. This is where we are. It runs, starts, stops, and drives. Just doesn't drive well at all. But it will stop well, and it will get jiggy with it. It will indeed get jiggy with it. It runs better when it's in the driveway, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, Midnight Rose in progress. It's your boy. There's your update. Much love. And I will be signing off now. So, have a good one, guys. And until the next update, love y'all. And peace out. Nagasaki Windy Boy.